Hello family, welcome to Jimmy Stories. Please do remember to subscribe, like, leave your thoughts on the comments section, and also share this video. It means the world to us. Thank you as you do so. Now sit back and relax as we dive into this thrilling story briefly. Ruth's life was anything but extravagant, yet she found peace in her small world. She lived in a modest house with her aging mother, Deborah, who was her anchor and confidant. Ruth worked long hours at a small bakery in town. The bakery's sweet aroma of freshly baked bread often felt like home to her. She loved her work, not because it paid well, it didn't, but because of the sense of community it brought. Customers admired her warm smile and patience, even on her busiest days. Her late father had instilled in her the values of kindness and humility, and she held on to those lessons fiercely. However, not everyone appreciated her simplicity, especially her best friend Rita. Rita was the complete opposite of Ruth. She lived for flashy appearances and often mocked Ruth's modest lifestyle. "Ruth, you're wasting your youth. You should be out there looking for a rich man to marry. What's all this hard work for?" Rita would say, laughing. But Ruth's answer was always the same. "I want to marry for love, not money. A man's character is more important to me than his wallet," she would reply with a gentle smile, refusing to let Rita's comments get under her skin. Ruth's evenings were reserved for her mother. After dinner, they would sit on the veranda, sipping tea, and sharing stories. Deborah often encouraged Ruth to stay true to herself. "Kindness always finds its way back to you, my daughter. Don't let the world change you," Deborah would say, her frail hands resting on Ruth's. Yet, deep down, Ruth often wondered if fate had more in store for her. As much as she loved her life, she sometimes felt the weight of her struggles. Were her dreams of a loving family and a better life too much to hope for? One brisk morning, Ruth was preparing a batch of cupcakes when the bell above the bakery door jingled. She turned to see a man she hadn't seen before. He was tall, with a calm demeanor and an air of humility that immediately caught her attention. He introduced himself as Andrew, saying he was new in town and had heard great things about the bakery. "Can you recommend something?" Andrew asked, his warm smile putting Ruth at ease. "Our cinnamon rolls are a favorite," she replied, handing him a neatly packaged roll. As he paid, their hands brushed briefly, and Ruth felt an unfamiliar flutter in her chest. Andrew began visiting the bakery regularly. At first, he was just another customer, but over time, their conversations grew longer. Ruth learned he was an architect who had moved to town for a project. Despite his success, Andrew was down to earth and shared Ruth's love for simple joys. Their connection didn't go unnoticed. Rita, who frequently visited Ruth at the bakery, was quick to comment. This Andrew guy seems nice, but are you sure he's not broke? You don't want to waste your time, Ruth." Ruth dismissed Rita's remarks. Andrew's character spoke volumes to her, and she valued their growing friendship. Andrew's visits became the highlight of Ruth's days. He would often stay longer than necessary, sharing stories about his travels and asking Ruth about her life. Ruth found herself opening up to him in ways she hadn't with anyone else. One evening, Andrew invited Ruth and her mother to dinner at a quiet restaurant. Deborah, though hesitant at first, agreed. Over dinner, Andrew charmed them both with his wit and sincerity. Deborah later whispered to Ruth, "He's a good man. Don't let your doubts hold you back." Despite the bond they were building, Ruth kept her feelings guarded. She feared getting too close, worried it might lead to heartbreak. Andrew, on the other hand, seemed patient, never pushing her for more than she was willing to give. One rainy afternoon, as Ruth closed up the bakery, she noticed Andrew waiting outside with an umbrella. "Let me walk you home," he offered. Grateful, Ruth accepted, and they strolled through the drizzle, talking about everything and nothing. During their walk, Andrew opened up about his life. He revealed that he had grown up in a wealthy family but had chosen to live a simpler life. "I've seen how money can ruin people," he said. "That's why I value authenticity, and I see that in you, Ruth." Ruth was taken aback. His words mirrored her own beliefs, and for the first time, she allowed herself to consider the possibility of a future with him. As Ruth's relationship with Andrew deepened, Rita grew increasingly vocal. She couldn't understand why Ruth was so content with a man she assumed was ordinary. "You're throwing your life away, Ruth. You could do so much better," Rita said one afternoon. Ruth's patience finally wore thin. "Better in whose eyes, Rita? Andrew treats me with respect and kindness. That's all that matters to me." Rita's words, however, planted seeds of doubt. Ruth began questioning whether she was being naive. She confided in her mother, who reassured her. "Follow your heart, Ruth. Don't let anyone else decide your happiness." One crisp evening, Andrew invited Ruth to a quiet park where they had spent many evenings together. Under a canopy of stars, he got down on one knee and held out a simple gold ring. "Ruth, you've shown me the beauty of life's small moments. Will you marry me?" he asked, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. Tears welled in Ruth's eyes. "Yes," she whispered, overwhelmed with happiness. The ring was modest, just like everything else about Andrew, but to Ruth, it was perfect. It symbolized the love they had built on shared values and genuine connection. Ruth and Andrew's wedding was a small, intimate affair. Rita, still skeptical, attended but couldn't hide her disapproval of Ruth's plain dress and simple ring. After the ceremony, Andrew made a surprising announcement during his speech. He revealed that he was, in fact, a millionaire who had chosen to live modestly to avoid attracting insincere relationships. The room fell silent before erupting in applause. Rita was left speechless, while Ruth stood in awe of her husband's humility. Married life brought Ruth and Andrew even closer. They continued to live simply, cherishing the love and values that had brought them together. Ruth's bakery thrived, thanks to Andrew's business expertise, and she used their resources to support her community. Rita eventually apologized for her judgment, admitting she had been wrong about what truly mattered. Ruth forgave her, grateful for the lessons she had learned along the way. Ruth's story is a testament to the power of staying true to one's values. Her humility and kindness led her to a love that was genuine and fulfilling. In a world obsessed with appearances, Ruth and Andrew proved that true wealth lies in character, not possessions. Their journey inspires us to look beyond the surface and cherish what truly matters.